Hello, and welcome to Rage Report. A lot of crap went on this week, so let's dive in. Government loses major House of Lords vote to redefine child poverty. So peers voted 290 to 192 in favour of an amendment that will force the government to publish annual figures on income related to child poverty. The plans were opposed by the child poverty charities and have been challenged by the Respect Social Mobility Commission chaired by former Labour Minister Alan Milburn, which said last month that it was not credible to tackle child poverty without acknowledging the most obvious symptom of poverty, a lack of money. So the Tories wanted to determine how poor someone was without taking into account how much money they earn, because they're complete fucking idiots. Alison Garnham, Chief Executive of Child Poverty Action Group, said the government was in a mess over the issue, and that when you talk about poverty and life chances, you can't simply ignore income. She said, "The Lords are on the side of the experts and the public here. Again, we see the government decided against the public and experts. More proof that the Conservative Party is only interested in helping itself." To summarise the article, the Tories, instead of helping to reduce child poverty, wanted to redefine it so they could say, "Look, less children are in poverty since we came to power." This is exactly what they did with the employment figures. Because they've got so many people on 0-hour contracts, it counts as being employed even though these people may only be getting a couple of hours of work a month. These examples are how the Tories work. They use their disgusting tactics to fake change. You'll never guess what. The Tory benefit cuts are making mental health conditions worse. Top psychiatrists warn. Oh. The article says, the Royal College of Psychiatrists accused the Tory Work and Pension Secretary of unjust and ineffective use of threats and sanctions against people who cannot work due to their poor mental health. I guess that means that cutting funds to ill people doesn't make them suddenly healthier. Who would have known? So psychiatrist Dr. Jed Borden said that rather than encouraging people back into work, benefit sanctions can leave people's mental health conditions deteriorating, pushing them even further from work. I don't know why we really needed a professional to tell us this. Anyone with half of a fucking brain could have told the government that taking money away from vulnerable people, especially those with mental health problems, isn't going to miraculously make them able to work. The article's a good read, but it repeats the same obvious points, so I won't be using much more. As Elliot Dunster, head of policy at Disabled Charity Scope, says, reducing disabled people's income won't incentivize them to find a job. It will just make life harder. I think everybody knew that, apart from the Tories, obviously. Third story from the week. George Osborne insists Google tax deal is a major success. Now, this is one that has got a lot of traction recently in the media, but I really wanted to do it because, well, there's a lot to talk about. So, first off, I'd like to say, Osborne, this is a shit deal. 3%, that's a fucking joke. It's clearly not a major success, you fucking mongoloid. The article states, you understand frustration and anger over multinationals avoiding big bills, but blamed international law and said he always sought the best deal for Britain. I got news for you, Chancellor. This is literally the least you could have done. This is the worst deal you've made with Google. Not surprising that the EU's Competition Commissioner is ready to look into complaints that the settlement breaches EU rules. So every week I read the same old shit. The Tories do something to help nobody but themselves. Tories end up breaking the law. Nothing happens. It's a recipe for corruption. Fuck's sake. And to really put the icing on the cake, Italy was able to get €227 million or 15% in tax from Google, making our 3% even more pathetic. And from what I've read, they didn't use any special tactics or tricks, so I asked the Chancellor, why the fuck do you think 3% is a major success? If you're able to call that pathetic attempt at a deal a major success, then from now on I'll be calling my morning shits a major success. My favourite part of the article is when the Chancellor says that my only interest as the country's Chancellor of the Exchequer is to get the best deal for Britain, to bring the jobs here, the businesses here, and to make sure the taxes are paid here. Followed by, when I became Chancellor, Google paid no tax. You fail on the tax deal. You've sold our steel industry, and you failed on the fucking tax deal, you utter fuckwit. Anyways, he finishes with saying once again he regards this as a major success because, he's a fucking twat. Fourth and final story. I usually do 5, but I couldn't be arsed. Tory's lobbying to protect Google's $30 billion island tax haven. So, Britain has complained to the European Commission about an EU blacklist designed to hit tax havens, including Bermuda, describing it as misleading and deeply unhelpful, and rejecting suggestions of countermeasures. So it sounds like Osborne may have been lying when talking about making sure companies pay tax, but I could be wrong. Let's continue reading. Tory MEPs were instructed on 6 different occasions last year to vote against proposals that would clamp down on multinationals that engage in aggressive tax avoidance. So, Osborne, when you said that your only interest as the country's Chancellor of the Exchequer is to get the best deal for Britain, you were just talking out of your fucking arse then, were you? The best part of this article comes from Shadow Chancellor John MacDonald, where he says, "The revelations marked out government ministers as hypocrites. The mask has finally slipped. The Tories have been saying they want to clamp down on tax avoidance to the British people, but when they think our backs are turned, they're telling their MEPs to oppose any measure to make it happen. The truth is they run a don't know, don't care operation to tax avoidance." And I believe you've hit the nail on the head there, MacDonald. The Tories have been proclaiming to be the party of the working class, but just look at what's happened this week. The attempts to redefine child poverty instead of helping reduce it, and this mate rates deal with Google, the mask is indeed slipping. The article goes on to say Tory MEPs voted in July against giving assistance to tax administrators in developing countries to tackle tax evasion. In March and July, Conservative and UKIP MEPs voted against a report calling for the action to tackle tax avoidance, tax evasion, and aggressive tax planning, and a motion calling for the Commission to commit to clamping down on tax fraud through legislation. As you can see, the Conservatives just don't care. What I like about this paragraph is the mention of UKIP. I know a couple of people who support UKIP because they believe it to be a lot like Labour but stricter on immigrants. This mention helps bring true intentions to the surface, that they're just basically Conservatives but more open about their racism. Despite the evidence, a Treasury spokesperson said, "It is simply wrong to suggest the UK is anything other than at the international forefront of tackling aggressive tax planning, avoidance and evasion." Because in this person's eyes, it's wrong to tell the truth, especially if it hurts the image of our brilliant overlords. And with that, we have the end of Rage Report. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read any of the articles for yourself, and I definitely suggest you do, they'll be linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.